Hello everyone. So today let us take a look at this app called Better Excel Exporter for Jira. Now I do have like a list of a few apps that I always prefer to use. I am a bit biased to be honest, but my bias is actually not based on any personal preference. To be honest, my bias is based on my experience, uh, my experience of using these apps that I use to solve real world problems. Now, today I'm going to talk about this app called Better Excel Exporter. It is from a company called Midori, and I will talk about why I prefer using this app and why uh, I think this app is really good. I think that is how an app should be like. I mean, talking about the use case, talking about the problems or the challenges or the gaps these apps can fill. So I guess you all know that my favorite apps are. I don't really have a lot of favorite apps, but I do have apps like if I have to name few or maybe top four or five. So number one is of course Scriptner for Jira. Number two is EasyBI. Um, Number three would be uh, it can be a bit difficult, but yeah, definitely structure. And I also like I quite like using tempo apps. Um, Zephyr and X-Ray are also good, equally good. And Better Excel Exporter is definitely probably in my top 10 for sure. Now, uh, let me give you some background. Now, I have mentioned this in the past. I've made few videos on this topic that you should not be using Excel along with Jira, right? And at the same time, if you follow Atlassian ecosystem, you might find someone or some organizations say that don't use Excel at all if you're using Jira. I think that is definitely not true. So just to give you some reasons, I actually made a video yesterday or day before yesterday where I mentioned um, why this statement or why saying that Excel should not be used at all is wrong. I think so I've made few points. Usually I don't really make points, but I made points, and I want to basically quickly discuss these points. And of course, I will also show you very briefly how this app works. I quite like using this app, and I think I'll probably make if I find time, I'll make more videos on this. I'll try. Let me know if you want to see more videos on Better Excel Exporter. Now, talking about why you cannot replace Excel with Jira. Uh, so first of all, I think Excel and Jira, they're both different tools, and these two different tools are developed for different uh, problems that you can solve with any tool. Now, people say that yes, collaboration, Jira is a collaborative tool. I think that is not really true because, I mean, of course, Jira is a web-based tool. You would go to like a link. It could be your server or data center or your cloud. But even Excel, in a way, you can collaborate using Excel. Of course, I'm not really saying that 10 people can work on your Excel at the same time. I mean, potentially you can do that. I mean, it is possible, it happens, although that you might face some issues. But collaboration is not really a way or a point that you should use to compare these two different tools. At the same time, if we talk about Excel, so let us talk about Excel very quickly. Like not only features, but things where or basically places where Excel shines. You can't really replace Excel. Now, first of all, Excel can work without internet, right? You don't really need an internet to work on Excel sheet, right? You can just open a sheet, do your changes, create a pivot table, do some VLOOKUPs, and you're done, right? You can send it to someone. So you basically are working on your own local standalone file. You might be on a train, you might be in a bus, or maybe you want to do some analysis while you're on the plane before your next conference or meeting, because you can just open the file on your local computer, right? And Excel is not only super fast, I mean, depending upon what you're trying to do with it, but Excel is usually quite fast. Excel is quite powerful, and you can do a lot of processing using Excel. I mean, and by the way, I'm qualified to talk about Excel and of course Jira. So you all know that I have been doing things with Jira for more than 15 years now, but I have done a lot of work with Excel. I've used Excel. I have helped others use Excel, not just normal Excel formulas and features of the tool. I have built tools and solutions using Excel. So, if in case you don't know, you can write macros in Excel. You can use VBA macro programming to do a lot of wonderful things with Excel. At the same time, my relationship or my experience with Excel has always been a love or hate relationship. I want to run away from Excel, but I can't, because the things that you can do on Excel, there is no comparison. I mean, you can't really say that, yes, if you're using Jira, then don't use Excel at all. Now, at the same time, Excel has been used for decades. So there is a lot of dependencies. Like a lot of people actually depend on Excel. In fact, the processes in these companies are based on Excel, or not really based on Excel, but they expect the outcome or the output, or they expect these artifacts to be stored in Excel format so that they can always access it if they need to. Now, you might say that yes, you can do a bit of processing on a table using, let us say, something called as. And there are a lot of apps. I'll not really name those apps, but let us say you're using an app to basically, because there is an app that can actually look for a table with, let us say, hundreds of rows, and it can do some processing on top of it. So you can write your SQL scripts in a way, SQL, and then you can manipulate it. You can do some calculations. You can do group bys, something like that, and it is fine. It works. But if you compare the same thing, if you do the same thing using EasyBI will probably. So first of all, if you do these processing of data using macros within a Confluence document, the page might not even load. Let us say you're processing 100 rows. That is it, right? Or the page might take 2 minutes to load, or it is probably not going to work very efficiently, because it also depends on your Confluence usage. If you are using this page or trying to do something during peak hours, you're probably not sure whether this approach will work. But if you do the same kind of if you do the same kind of processing in EasyBI again is not super fast, but EasyBI works. You can optimize it. You can of course write MDX based calculations, and EasyBI report will probably work in let us say half a minute, right? Now do the same thing in Excel sheet. It will be instant, right? I guess you already know this. Now, not everyone. I mean, if you're talking about like a big organization, not everyone has access to Jira, or they don't have an account. They need to probably raise it, and this is especially true now because in a big company, they are probably now going to use or move to data center, if not cloud. And there is always even on cloud there is always some kind of limitation. So Jira is not always like open for everyone in the organization. But Excel, if we're talking about an enterprise, I mean, chances are they already have an Excel sheet. But I'm not really saying that use Excel and don't rely on Jira data. I'm basically coming to the main point in just 1 minute. So yeah, talking about higher management. Higher management actually prefer to see things and to, let us say, if you're talking to someone who is a senior stakeholder, they will ask you, okay, can you please send me the list of all the stories, right, or all the requirements. You can send them the filter, or you can basically send them, okay, look at this EasyBI report. They will probably shout at you. I mean, not shout. Shouting is not good, but their expectation is to get this in a simple spreadsheet where they can do whatever they want to do with it. They can just show it or use it as it is, or maybe they can add maybe a column or create their own pivot or charts or pie chart, whatever, or a bar chart. Now, the main point that I'm trying to make here is that don't use Jira data in Excel, or don't use Excel to track your delivery. For example, it is okay to use Excel, where you may want to send a report to someone, but don't use that particular Excel sheet to report on the progress. If someone is expecting, the flow should be from Jira to Excel, in case you want to use Excel with, let us say, Jira. Of course, you can do both. So you can, let us say, create a list of all the issues in, it could be epics or stories in Jira, then dump it to Excel. Maybe you have a macro that is updating back Jira, which is of course not really, don't do it. It's probably a stupid idea, unless there is some really good reason to have this bi-directional sync. But what you should do is you should look for ways to dump data into Excel if Excel is the expectation, and then let that particular person or that department do whatever they want to do with that data. But don't expect that Excel to be the source of truth. It should be like a snapshot. That is it. Now, there are a lot of ways to dump data into Excel. You can, of course, go to the issue navigator in Jira, and you can dump it to a CSV file. If you're on cloud, you can directly dump it to Excel. That will work wonderfully well. But sometimes you don't have time to basically, do this, and you might need a bit more structured way of doing it, or maybe a bit more proper way of doing it, because when you dump things from Jira natively to a CSV or an Excel, it is nothing but a list of issues. But you might want to, what you can potentially do is you can probably write some VBA macros to pull data from Jira, and then it's like your source. You click a button, it will pull everything, and then it will refresh your pivot tables. Definitely possible. I've done that a lot. But for majority of people, I think Better Excel Exporter is one such app that actually solves this problem. And again, I'm sharing this because I've done this. I've used this app, and it is wonderful. It was on data center or server on-prem, but now I believe they are also on cloud. I have started evaluating it on cloud, and it's quite good. So what this app will do, it will of course dump your Jira data into an Excel sheet. But good thing is that you can define the template. You can basically have a template with, let us say, some pivots already in place. So the moment someone downloads that particular Excel, they have the report ready to go, right? That is wonderful, because you're basically generating this from Jira. So use it to generate these artifacts and then send it to someone. But again, whenever you're working with Jira along with Excel, the flow should be from Jira to Excel. You should make it very clear that this particular Excel is showing the scope of my work or the progress as of today. But if you want real-time information, there is a link. Go back to Jira, or maybe look at your Jira dashboards. But you can't really expect, or you can't really say that, don't use Excel at all. There are so many dependencies on Excel. I basically in this video, I mentioned these things. Now let us look at the app very quickly, because it is already 13 minutes. I have the app installed on my Jira instance. And the way this app works is that you basically define different views and different templates that you can upload with those things. And these templates are not really, you can basically have anything in your Excel sheet. Your template, your template is nothing but a file. It could have maybe macros. It could have pivot tables. On data center, I'm not really sure if they have it on cloud or not, but you can also download this Excel using one endpoint, which is wonderful, right? So you have, let us say you have endpoint, you hit the endpoint and you get the file, right? So you can basically plug this to other tools, or maybe use it for integration, or maybe if the expectation is to do it automatically. Now let me show you how this works. So if you go to your issue navigator, this is of course one place where you can use Better Excel. And the moment you open your, whatever you're searching here, you will notice this option on top called export this search to Excel, right? If you click on it, it will then, let us say you want to export everything, or maybe you want to export using a specific template. You can do that. And what you can also do especially on data center. You can also use basically in the template, you can define different formulas that are actually based on nothing but your Groovy. So basically, you can process the data while it is getting dumped to an Excel sheet, or you can also, because it is Excel, if you already are good in Excel, you can basically define your formulas or maybe define the data source, which is again Jira. So the main thing is that you can, if you need to work on Excel, I mean, try not to. Again, I'm being very open, but you can't really say this to, everyone. If you're working with a big company, don't use Excel, click on this link. But it should be an ongoing process. Or if you're a consultant working for a company, you should try to encourage people to use Jira as much as they can. But if you know that Excel cannot be thrown away, then live with it and use these solutions. Now, apart from your issue navigator, what you can also do is you can also go to your, let us say your board, right? Because board is also something that you want to look at, because this board is talking about my sprint. And if you want to maybe export the issues, because in a board you have basically issues, right? So if you click on it and you click on the export Excel, you can basically do the same thing, right? Again, wonderful. Also, while you're looking at your issue, like the actual issue, you have the option to export it to Excel, right? So you can always export single issue, right? Which is wonderful. Now, if you look at the configurations of the app, it is actually very simple to use or configure. Better Excel exporter. And if you look here, you have a few options here. Excel view, basically the view that you can always define your own view. Let us say you want to define your own view and you want to make sure that this particular view is something is wrong with the app. Let me refresh it. Okay, so let us try one more time. Add a new view. Okay, so you can define a view, then you can define where you want this view to be available, and then you can make sure that the template that you want to select, you can actually define the template here. Now, you can also upload your own template here. So basically what I was talking about is this Groovy. So if you know, you can, basically you can also use Groovy to manipulate or do some processing while the data is being exported. Amazing thing, right? I mean, you have to basically read look at their documentation and then learn how to do it. So if you want to add a new template, you can. And if you want to, of course, learn how to configure these things, how to basically use a Groovy script, or maybe what columns you need to have. I mean, there are certain elements that you need to basically learn, and it also works with some other apps like Zephyr, which I can see here. Also Tempo, again, my favorite apps. And if you already have a template in place, just upload it here, like simply upload it. So wonderful app. And yeah, that is all I wanted to talk about in this particular video. It is not really an app review, because app review I would be lying if I'm doing a review. I'm not really doing a review. I'm just saying that this is a wonderful app. Use it. I can recommend this app. I've used this in the past, and I quite enjoy working on Better Excel Exporter. It really solves a problem and makes your life a lot more easier. If you are a consultant, if you are probably, if you're constantly being asked by people that we need this Excel sheet format, can you please generate it? Because I'm quite comfortable using Excel sheet. I know, I've done plenty of, in fact, I've written a book on Excel VBA. So for me, writing a macro one time for someone is fine, maybe twice or thrice, but maintaining a VBA based approach, like a VBA based template, is definitely not ideal. Because you would write a VBA code where you want to do some processing on data, but you have the option to use your own Groovy script here, which again is a Groovy script. And if you already are into Atlassian ecosystem, if you are already using Script for Jira, so you can use your existing skills to basically get the most out of let us say this app, because this app will give you the Excel sheet in the right format with the right data and with the right processing of those fields that you may have that you want to report on. All right, that is it. It is now a bit long video, and I will let you try this app. All right, bye bye.